Welcome back, my beautiful ghouls, to another chilling chapter of Ghouly Pleasures. I'm Kendra.
And I'm Darcy, and today we are reviewing episode 4 of Talamasca. This week's episode is called Wet Work, and we have a couple writers credited for this episode. One is Anna Fisher, who really doesn't have much to her name in terms of writing, but she did write 39 episodes of a CW mystery show called In the Dark.
Wow, that's a lot of episodes to be writing.
Yeah, that's a lot of episodes. So not much variety, but certainly a hefty bulk of episodes to her repertoire. Our other writer is Mark Lafferty. He wrote on Mayfair Witches.
Oh. Does that explain why we have a lot of exposition in this episode, maybe?
Perhaps. That could explain it. We're not the biggest fans of Mayfair Witches in terms of writing quality, but we're willing to give him a shot. We can talk about how it went at the end.
Yeah.
Once again, just like last week's episode, we're not really going to review this in chronological order in terms of how it presented itself within the episode. We're going to break it down by main storylines in an order that we feel makes sense so that it's easy to discuss and easy to understand.
Yep, standout plot points we thought were interesting or we think it's going to go further in the plot going forward in the show.
Exactly. So we're going to start with Helen's plot, which is mostly diving into her backstory.
Mm-hmm.
We start with learning from all of that Guy has missed a check-in with the Talamasca.
She's doing her job now.
Well, I mean, though, is she?
I mean, he probably wouldn't have missed this check-in if she was doing her job in the first place.
Exactly. She's supposed to be his handler, not reporting to Helen, being like, your boy's MIA. You should have been on this boy. Like, what the hell, girl? I'm just saying, I don't think she excels at being a handler.
I wonder if they're going to do something with her character because she's literally, there's no point to her at this point. She's not doing anything.
Right.
Just there to look hot, and she does.
I mean, she does. She's doing a great job at that. But truly, at this point, the only thing she's contributed to the story is make things worse. Because in the previous episode, when she went to the police station to obtain the autopsy records, that was what flagged the detective's interest and made her feel like something's off here. She was already thinking something was weird about the situation, but that's what prompted her to start looking around even deeper.
Very true. Well, she's there to move the plot forward in ways we don't want.
So she lets Helen know that Guy is MIA. He missed a drop with the Talamasca. But Helen basically says, don't worry, we all ghost the Talamasca now and then. He'll turn back up. I have faith. Relax. Olive goes on her way and Helen visits her parents' graves.
Mm-hmm.
When she gets there, she sees a bouquet of flowers that's very wilted. Clearly someone was here, but a while ago.
Yes, they look like the exact same flowers she had in her hand.
Thank you.
Did you notice that?
Yes, I have it written down to bring it up to you. Like, okay, do these twins have a psychic connection?
I thought that was odd because, like, when she goes and asks the graveyard guy who's like, sweet, was I here before? And I'm just like, is this like maybe a memory thing or is she just trying not to reveal that she maybe has a twin?
Right. She sees the flowers, so she does the only reasonable thing and asks the graveyard attendant, have you seen me before? It just sounds so ridiculous.
Literally.
Can you imagine what was going through that man's brain? Like, no, queen, but okay.
All I see are dead people. Sorry.
So Helen, unfortunately, is at a dead end at this point. She decides to visit an old friend named Abigail instead. And we learn that this friend Abigail was also in the Talamasca institution for testing children if they have psychic abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And Helen is trying to find out from this girl what the hell that was all about. Because Helen doesn't know. Even though she's in the Talamasca, she still doesn't know what they were even looking for at that time.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know what they were doing and she wants to find her sister. But Abigail's super nervous. She doesn't want to talk about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And while all this is going on, like, bam, some woman like barges in to the house. And I'm so sorry. Forgive me if I'm blind. But like, was that the same? Like, that was a twin of Abigail, right? They looked like the same people to me.
I didn't notice, but you have face blindness, so.
I do. I do have face blindness. At the very least, I assumed this woman who barged into the house was her sister.
Mhm.
I could be totally wrong. I thought maybe they're also twins. Maybe they're all twins that they were
Maybe it could have been a
researching.
twin thing.
Right. We have no idea. But this other woman barges in and she's way more intense than little Abigail was because she's pissed and she doesn't like that Helen is there. She's angry with Helen for working for the Talamasca in spite of quote unquote everything she knows. And this is where we really, I think, get a little more of Helen's motivations, that she's not really working with the Talamasca because she likes them or believes in their plan. She's working with them for the sole purpose of finding her sister, I believe.
Yes. I feel like that's a running through theme of this show.
Yes.
Every person of the Talamasca we meet so far seems to be doing something for their own gain and not
Yes.
necessarily for the good.
Right. I agree. But it's interesting that her motivation is very similar to Guy's motivation for agreeing to work with the Talamasca, too. They're
Mhm.
both searching out a family member who, by faults of the Talamasca, is MIA at this time.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. I think it's the most we really have learned about Helen to this point.
Yes, definitely.
So this woman who's barged in and is really angry with Helen wants her to leave. She uses what looked like telepathic powers, right?
Yes, I did clock that.
She uses telepathic powers and she like hurls a vase at Helen to encourage her very politely to get the hell out of their house. Yeah. So Abigail kind of works her way back in and is handing Helen her coat, being like, please get the fuck out. Very politely, of course, though.
Of
So Helen
course.
does finally, as she, of course, she's a very polite woman. And so as she leaves, she puts her hand into the pocket that Abigail handed to her as she left. And she finds that a note has been slipped into her pocket. And the note has a name on it that says James Melville. No idea who this
No
man
idea who
is.
that is.
But Helen doesn't know either. So for once, we're all on the same page. It's a miracle. The information playing field has finally evened out for us.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Helen wants to know who this is. So she reaches out to her little tech friend at the Talamasca branch in New York and asks him to quietly look into this. I'm not sure that's how spy databases work. Like, I don't know if your spy tech at your spy company can secretly use your spy databases to just secretly look up information, but not let the headquarters know. Like, it just seems
I'm not
counterproductive.
a spy.
I'm not a spy. I don't really know. I just think maybe don't call him while he's at work. Like, if you don't want your work to know about it.
Talamasca's whole thing is they're always watching.
That's
So
one of like, they're always watching, but they're definitely always watching at work. Like, even my manager is always watching at work. But I'm sure Helen has faith in this guy for a reason. So we'll see what he can turn up on James Melville and how this is related to what happened to them at the Talamasca Institute, where they were running tests on them. It will be curious to see what comes back because for some reason, this girl, Abigail, might have had a lead, even though Helen is the one who's actively working for the Talamasca.
interesting. Interesting.
Very interesting. But that's pretty much all that happens with Helen's storyline this week.
Mhm.
Lots of just digging up some secrets and laying the groundwork to reveal more secrets about the Talamasca.
More secrets. We're every episode giving us more reasons to not trust the Talamasca.
Yes, I would say by the end of this episode, they've really piled it on heavy.
Hmm.
Well, now we're going to get into Guy and Jesper because they have the bulk of the episode, I would say.
Yes, they definitely do.
And they have really an interesting dynamic as well. We join them when they're having breakfast together. And understandably, Guy is really hesitant to be eating this food that this man has given him. And Jesper is like, bro, trust me, it's not poison. You need to calm the hell down. So Guy eats. And I just wanted to mention that little part because I'm going to bring it back. So Guy starts eating and they get into a discussion. And once again, Jesper kind of brings up he's not so sure if Guy is pretending to switch sides. Is this legitimate? Guy again reiterates that, like, his betrayal is real because the Talamasca essentially ruined his life by whatever they did with his mom, having to go in hiding and pretend to be dead to get away from them. So Jesper's willing to kind of humor him and see where this goes. And this is where we get the story of a vampire named Vasile. And
Mhm.
we learn a little bit more about Jesper's backstory here. Vasile essentially is a vampire from many, many hundreds of years ago who was a vegetarian vampire back before it was trendy.
When Louis made it trendy.
Right. Before Louis made it trendy. Although, did he? The long and short of it is that Basile was not eating humans. He was drinking the blood of animals. And he had to keep this hidden from the rest of his coven. Someone found out, outed him, which is very rude and should never happen. And Vasile was essentially kicked out of the coven for a long time. He had nothing but a shit run of things. And eventually things came to a head and he decided he wanted revenge. So who does he turn to for revenge but the people who are always watching and are always
With
there?
old friend, the
Good friends, the Talamasca. And as we've seen, and we'll continue to see, the Talamasca members largely have their own motivations and are out for their own self-interest.
Mhm.
So it wasn't hard for Vasile to find someone who was willingly bribed, and this Talamasca member provided the name of the vampire who ratted him out all those years ago.
Mhm.
And Vasile tracked that vampire down and not only killed that vampire, but killed his entire coven.
Massacred the whole coven.
Yep. It gets a little complicated here because it was a mixed coven, which
Mhm.
means that there were vampires, i.e., immortals, but also mortals.
Mhm.
And at the time, Jesper was one of these mortals.
He was just a child.
Exactly. He was just a child who, thankfully, or maybe not, happened to be away from the coven at the time that this massacre happened. So he ended up being the sole survivor of his coven, and he ended up being alone for a long time, much like our guy.
Mhm.
So Jesper found his way over to America. For a long time, he was alone. He describes himself as being totally alone, having nothing and no one until he found, quote unquote, the dark gift and became a vampire. So Jesper, literally, what, a day after really meeting Guy, has already shared his tragic backstory, whereas Guy still don't even know Helen's real name. Just saying.
His
I
thing,
feel
but
like
you believe Jasper?
that's the thing. I'm not sure how much we can believe him. As the
Except
episode
Mhm.
Right. As the episode plays out, I feel like his reaction to things supports the story that he tells, but we can't be 100% sure. If he's telling the truth, then it's kind of crazy how much he was willing to share with Guy.
Mm.
And in a way, how similar their story is because they both have had their family taken away from them by the Talamasca. Might
Mm.
be in totally different ways, but Jesper also perceives that his family was taken away because of the actions of the Talamasca. Guys, we know his mother is gone because of the Talamasca, and they've both been alone for a long time because of it.
Yes.
So I feel like there's an interesting kind of empathetic bond that, whether or not it's genuine, is being built by
Mhm.
Jesper. So the point Jesper is basically making to Guy is explicitly that the Talamasca interferes with vampire lives and straight up destroys communities, and he's had enough of it. So he wants the 752 because it contains the history of all these vampires. And he's convinced that if he can find the 752, he can also find all the other vampires in the world, because right now there are not enough. And he wants to make more because there's power in numbers, essentially.
Mhm.
And once there are more vampires in the world, the Talamasca won't be able to hold the balance against them anymore. The odds will be evened.
Mhm.
So I guess it's refreshing that Jesper really point blank tells Guy, this is my story and this is my plan.
Straight up
Everything
told the whole thing.
right. Everything with a grain of salt, of course. But after sharing that lovely story, Jesper takes Guy into his torture basement where we find Checkers.
This is back. Good old Checkers. He thought he was going on vacation.
Right. Poor Checkers. Thought he got a fucking promotion. Was going to Jakarta. Big things. And now he's a revenant. Poor guy. I mean, he's essentially, Jesper calls him like an offshoot of like ancient vampires, but more submissive and easy to control, but just as dangerous. So
Mhm.
Checkers is now what Jesper used in episode 1 to kill Soledad.
Yes.
And Guy gets a little nervous because Checkers runs out of nowhere, and frickin' Guy, in his fright to get away, literally runs face first into a wall. That's what happened there. I had to rewind
I
it.
didn't notice that, but
But
you
like,
know that
bam, ran headfirst into a frickin' wall and
guy.
is bleeding. The poor guy. Jesper says, all right, let's go back upstairs and get you healed. Checkers is going to come with us. We're going to go on a mission to get the 752. But for now, let's get you healed up. So they go back upstairs, and this might sound tedious, but I have to bring it up because Jesper is cleaning Guy's wound for him on his forehead.
Mhm.
Like he is just like the good old fashioned way, like with tissues. And then he stops and looks contemplative, and he decides, I shouldn't do this. It's totally against the code, not that he cares. And he bites his finger so that blood is drawn. And he starts to put his hand towards Guy to rub the blood into his wound. As we now know, it will have a healing effect. And Guy is obviously, understandably freaked out with a vampire trying
Yeah.
to mix blood. But Jesper, again, he uses, this is why I bring it up and why I brought up them eating breakfast together. Because this is the second time that Jesper explicitly says, trust me. And then he
Yeah.
uses his blood to heal him.
Mhm.
It's very interesting the way he's going about things. It's very interesting. And then there's also a moment between them when they're talking. I'm not sure where it took place within the scene, but there's a moment when they're talking about Jesper's goal and what he wants to do. And Guy asks, like, well, like, why should I be trusting you and believing you? And Jesper basically is like, because I know what you're freaking going through and I'm not going to let you down. So he's really laid the groundwork, I feel like, whether it's
Mhm.
true or not, an emotional groundwork to build a sense of trust.
Exactly. Could be emotional manipulation. Maybe he's
Exactly.
the guy in any way that he can to get him
Right.
on his. He knows he can use Guy.
Right. He's made it a personal kind of mission. Like Helen, whenever she was, trying to get Guy to do this, she was like, I need you to do this for reasons A, B, C, and D. But it was always really like objective or clinical, I guess, with Helen.
Mhm.
Whereas Jesper is kind of leading with his own passion.
Yeah, it's like a little more intimate with
Right.
how he.
I agree. It's quite intimate. So it's interesting. I don't know how much we can trust him, but I'm just saying if I was in Guy's shoes, I would want to trust this person who I seem to have a lot in common with, who seems to share things with me openly, and who seems to have a shared motivation.
Mhm.
That's all. But anyways, even though they're getting along well, Jesper still doesn't hesitate to basically send Guy to the wolves because they're going on a mission to retrieve the book and they're going to a nest of vampires, essentially.
Yep, a whole coven of vampires.
Yeah. There's this lovely group of vampires who run a hotel and they're really shady. Apparently, they do a lot of underground work and everything. And Jesper is like, LOL, I'm not going in, but you can go in, Guy, because
Yeah,
you
I
have
need
this.
to read all of their thoughts, find
Yeah.
out where the book is, come back, let me know. But it's all gonna be fine. It's gonna
Right.
be fine. Tucker's out here. He's on back and he's gonna come in. If there's anything wrong, we got you. Just do go in, come out. It's gonna be easy. It's gonna be so easy, guy.
When Jesper told Guy, it's just recon, I knew it was not going to be just recon.
Never that easy.
You know why, too? It could be just recon, but Guy is incapable of just doing recon. He always needs to get more involved.
Literally. He cannot help himself.
He'll complain about everything, but then shoves himself in the middle of the danger. Bro,
Yeah. He thinks he's
whatever.
the smart man in the room at all times, I feel like.
Yeah.
He always thinks one step ahead of everyone.
Honestly, I think you're probably right in that assessment. And maybe it has to do with his gift.
Mhm.
And I have things to say about that. We'll get to it. But so we head to the hotel. Guy goes, he has a driver who's escorting him and Checkers, a revenant. And they show up at the hotel. The driver and Checkers stay in the van, being like, We're here. If you need us, good luck. Get him, Guy. Guy goes into the hotel, and I want to first acknowledge that we find out Doris, Kevis's friend, has followed Guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we saw her, she was standing outside of the Talamasca headquarters in London watching him. What, has she just been camping out there this whole time? Like,
Who
girl,
knows?
maybe she's using some witchy spell to track him or something.
I mean, she is a witch. She's part of the covenant.
Right. I hope so, because that sounds exhausting, just like stalking some guy. That's all I'm saying. But Doris
If
is
these
essentially...
supernatural people got anything, it's time.
So Doris reveals that she's tracked Guy here because she's worried about him, and she thinks he's in way over his head.
Which he probably is.
Yes. My question is, why does Doris care so much about this guy that she just met?
Mm-hmm.
We do get a slight, maybe helpful hint of this in the after show, where the actress says, well, she just sees so much of Kevis in Guy. But I don't buy that.
Neither do I.
No, I don't understand that a witch would follow some random Talamasca mortal. Who, remember, she hates the Talamasca, but she's going to follow him into a vampire's lair when she makes it very clear that she knows where she is and the danger that she and Guy are in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I just don't buy it.
Me neither.
I just don't buy it.
I mean, they did in the last episode have like a bonding moment when they were talking. So maybe she does feel some sort of compassion to her in the fact that he did care about Kevis. So she cares about him. So it could be that. But it
Right.
seems
Excessive.
But that just could be the writing just moving things along.
Right. Or she could have some kind of other motives.
Exactly. Everyone in this show has other motives, so.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I don't trust her. That's it. She's there to warn Guy and try to get him to leave, but Guy is on his mission and he's not leaving. So he continues on, and he runs into a Raglan James, who...
Raglan James? Good old Raglan James from Interview with the Vampire.
Exactly. He's a Talamasca operative who we've seen before. I, unfortunately, didn't recognize him because, as Kendra said, face blindness is a thing. So I don't think I even realized who he was until afterwards in the after show, where they were like, yeah, that's Raglan James. And I was like, oh my God, no way.
I can't believe you. As soon as he showed up, I'm like, oh, he's here. So that's connecting the shows right there. I was like, oh, Darcy's going to love this. Didn't even notice.
No. You know how, like, instead of subtitles, what I need is, like, every time a new character enters the stage, they just need to, like, put their full name and, like, any extra things that they've appeared in. Like, so I can make not only a name reference, but also, like, the show references to be like, oh, yeah, I do know you. Because as soon as they said it, I realized, but I'm sorry. So Guy runs into Raglan James. He's a Talamasca operative, and he's essentially there to make a deal with these vampires, which Guy finds out while reading his mind. And this is when I want to talk about Guy's gift, because Raglan immediately figures it out and stops Guy from reading his mind.
Yes.
I just feel like, how many times has Guy been caught reading someone's mind? They spend all this time being like, Guy, we need you to do this job that no one else can do because of your abilities. And then he gets there and everyone's like, we know what you're doing, bro.
Get out of my head.
Right. It's weird. I don't, like, are we being gaslit? Is Guy being gaslit? Like, what? They keep hyping up this gift and then it doesn't do shit, is all I'm saying.
Really doesn't. His gift has helped with almost nothing so far.
Exactly. Okay, we can acknowledge that it helped him, you know, realize that Raglan James was here for an exchange, but he doesn't get any of the details, which is very important because Raglan tries to warn Guy off. He knows who Guy is and that he's working with the Talamasca, and he wants Guy gone because he doesn't want Guy to fuck up his deal with these vampires. Guy says, LOL, sorry, bro, I'm crashing your deal. And joins Raglan up to one of the top floors to meet the head vampire. And while they're going upstairs, P.S., Doris is following them. And we see her disappear around a corner after she picks up something from a cleaning cart. She picks up something from a cleaning cart and then disappears around the corner. But she sees where they go. And she sends a little warning down to Guy's driver to tip them off and let them know that Guy is in trouble. Pin that because it's going to come back. So Doris sends a warning and Guy goes into the room with
He can
Raglan.
but get involved in things he should not be getting involved in.
He can't help himself. It's like a compulsion, I swear. It was just recon. It was just supposed to be recon.
And look what happens, Guy.
I can't. So he goes into the room with Raglan and he meets the head vampire of this coven, Harris. Harris is there. He has a big bodyguard. And then there's also a mortal who has a briefcase, a locked briefcase handcuffed to their wrist. And they're in a bedroom and another vampire is in there feeding off of them. And Guy is horrified as he watches this. It's kind of funny watching how traumatized he is. He was so upset, but he can't really focus on that shit because, Raglan apparently brought some good cash here to make a trade. But since Guy tagged along on his deal, he saw a better opportunity. Why trade all this money when I can keep it and just give the vampires Guy?
Gosh.
I mean, it's a good hustle though, Good for Raglan.
Good for Raglan.
He said, this little bitch is trying to ruin my freaking deal. I'll ruin it for you. I'll ruin the night for you, bitch.
He said bet. Watch this.
Yes, he said bet. So Raglan says to Harris, our vampire, hey, you can have Guy. He's really cool. He can read minds and be such...
Again, hyping up this ability.
Yes. He's like,
but
it would be so good.
This time it works, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for now, because Harris hasn't seen all the downsides. So Harris is intrigued. He wants to see, he wants to see the gifts. Show us what I'm buying. And Guy is just denying everything. He's like, I'm not psychic. He's a liar.
A regular old guy. I'm just his assistant.
Just an ordinary guy. Just here to check out the merch.
I'm just a temp. I just started a week ago. I don't really know what's going on.
So Raglan says, don't worry. He'll start showing off his gifts once there's a little blood on the carpet. And Harris agrees. So he has his bodyguard shoot Raglan in the chest. It's like instant karma.
Instant karma.
So Raglan starts bleeding and Guy is freaking out. And while this is happening, he sees out of the corner of his eye in the bedroom where the vampire is feeding on the mortal, the freaking window busts open and Checkers, the revenant, comes inside and starts killing the vampire in there. And so Guy is, he's smart. He thinks on his feet and he's like, okay, I'll read your mind. But this music that's blaring, it's a little loud. Can we turn it down?
Concentrate.
Exactly. I need to focus. And Harris is like, yeah. And he tells his bodyguard, go turn it down. So his bodyguard walks over to the bedroom as Guy starts to read Harris's mind. And Harris forgets all about his bodyguard, who's now being brutally murdered by Checkers in the bedroom.
Don't hear anything because the music is so loud.
Right. No one knows this is happening except Guy. Not even Raglan has clocked it yet. So Guy starts reading Harris's mind, and we see an old memory, which is of this vampire riding a horse when he was very young, still immortal, and he loses control of the horse. And at first he's really scared and is freaking out, thinking he's going to die. He doesn't know what to do, but then he decides to just let go of the reins and go with the horse. And then Guy describes him as never having felt so free and alive in those moments. The flashback ends, and Harris the vampire is super moved. He looked like he was going to cry for a minute.
He was moved to tears.
Yeah, he was moved. And then he acted really weird. Do you remember that scene in Twilight with the vampire from that one scene in Twilight with the vampire?
I know exactly which one you're talking about. The one with the vampire.
You would. Yes, that one with the vampire. Yes. No, the one with the Volturi, played by Michael Sheen with the long hair. And I don't remember the context of the scene, but he starts laughing like, ha ha ha. That's what this moment where Harris starts reacting after he feels moved. He starts reacting in this really weird way. And it reminded me of that moment in Twilight where Michael Sheen just laughs like a psychopath. And she's like, yes, it's a deal. I'm sold. And now Harris like finally starts looking around himself and is like, where the fuck is my bodyguard? And why is the music still playing? It's not that hard to turn off the goddamn music, bro. And so he goes to the bedroom to turn off the music himself. He's literally in the frame for 1 second, and you see Checkers reach over and like chop off his arm and then rip him off screen with the
It was great. And you just see it through the doorway. It's so
yeah.
good.
You just see it from Guy's perspective, that one
Mhm.
shot. It's so funny. Loved it to pieces. It's not often that I genuinely laugh out loud, but I genuinely did laugh out loud at that scene.
Checkers is the MVP of the season, I feel like.
Honestly, for real. I really like every time he's been on screen, I'm like, you know what, Checkers? Yes. Yes. Call out your piece of shit boss. Yes, Checkers. Kill that man. Checkers takes care of Harris, and then he goes out the window, like the good little revenant that he is. He goes back to the van. And then Raglan and Guy enter the bedroom, and they find the safe that was handcuffed to the mortal being drained. And Guy has Raglan open it. And this is where we find out it's not the 752.
Nope.
It's just ancient vampire blood. So here's another instance where Guy's gift didn't really pull through for him.
He
It let
did
him,
all this thinking that he was going to get the 752 out of this, and he got jack shit.
he read enough of Raglan's mind to know, oh, he's doing a deal. And he made an assumption because he didn't keep reading his mind. And so here we are.
Here we are. A
None of
suitcase
this,
full of blood
exactly. None of this
and
needed
no
to
book.
happen. No book, just blood. And Raglan gives him one last piece of advice before he leaves, which is, bro, make your number one mission yourself because the Talamasca don't give a shit about you.
Exactly. Once again, everyone in the Talamasca out for themselves.
Yep.
So
Coming
God
from a
basically
member.
worked for the Talamasca.
Right. Like, literally, even people in the Talamasca are like, we're not great.
Yeah, don't trust us. Don't listen to anything we say.
So, not exactly inspiring. So Raglan leaves, and then there's an interesting moment where Guy goes over to the window, he looks out, and he sees Checkers going back into the van, and he takes out his pills. Throughout the series, we've seen him take out pills whenever there's a
Right.
moment where the voices overwhelm him. And he makes a choice in this moment to dump his pills out the window as he recalls Harris's memory of letting go of the reins and how once he let go of control and just went with the flow, he never felt more free and alive.
Mhm.
So I thought this was an interesting moment for Guy's character development. Like from now on, instead of trying to suppress his gift and everything, maybe he'll start to embrace it a bit more and not try to control everything, just see what happens.
So we'll probably definitely see a change in how he handles things and maybe in his power as we go forward in the season.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm hoping for. After he does this, we get Jesper stepping onto the scene, surveying things, how this lovely recon mission went.
Yep.
And
Simple recognition.
simple recon mission, he steps into a room that's filled with like just blood everywhere. Literally, Harris's head has been decapitated and is literally just like plunged face facing outward of a wall, like he's an ornament in the wall.
Literally. There was an arm somewhere. There were body parts all over the room.
Yeah, a total
And Jasper's like,
slaughterhouse.
what happened here?
So Guy unfortunately has to let him know there was no 752. It's a blood deal, essentially. And as they're leaving, Jesper seems to sense something, and he leads them to this other room. And in this room is an ancient vampire who's being harvested for his blood.
Mhm.
And this is the blood that Raglan just bought off the vampires, or actually didn't buy in the end. Lucky him. He got away without having to do anything.
Literally.
Good for him. But so this vampire is essentially just being harvested, so his blood can be traded for money or different goods. And Jesper is horrified by this and basically tells Guy, like, back, in the old days, this would have never happened. These vampires would have been at the table with the Talamasca. They would have been on the same playing field. But now they're essentially looked over and can be mistreated because the Talamasca doesn't give a shit.
Yep.
And this is part of why he wants the 752. he basically is trying to save his own species and put them in a better position than they are now, because they're just being victimized, like, by their own kind too.
Yep.
So once again, we really top it off with this is why I hesitate to think he might be. I know he's emotionally manipulating Guy, but I don't think he's lying at this point about his story, because this was such a genuine reaction. And it's so in line with the story that he's told Guy so far. So it just feels like everything's lining up for him in terms of being truthful in this regard. I'm Team Jasper right now. Like,
He's doing such a great job. I would trust him.
yes, I would
I would,
trust him. Like,
I would
Team Jasper.
personally. He's so charismatic. I'm like,
Yes.
sure, buddy, whatever you say, whatever you need.
Exactly. As long as you don't turn me to a revenant, we're good. We're good. Like, if this show was being told from his point of view, we would all be completely rooting for him. And I mean,
Oh,
I am rooting for him. I'm just a little nervous for Guy. I just hope Guy is on the right side of history when all is said and done. And I'm just saying.
literally. Like, I think we need to trust Raglan and just look out for yourself at this point, Guy. Do everything
Right.
for yourself.
That's probably the wisest thing that Guy could do at this point, because things are really not going to go well for him. So Jesper is really upset once he sees this ancient vampire, this condition, and he decides to commit a mercy killing.
Rips off his head,
Rips it off, places it right on his chest.
places it very gently on his chest.
Very respectful, very demure.
Very mindful.
And poor Guy is obviously traumatized again. Like, Guy's trauma is just being compounded this episode. Poor Guy, for real. And it's just going to get worse for Guy, because while all this is going on, Detective Ridges is starting to connect the dots. Like we spoke about earlier, Olive, her visit and taking those autopsy pictures has encouraged Detective Ridges to take a look at those. And she finds that, oh, you know what? These bite marks in that murder suey that our poor Guy witnessed, the same bite marks were found on Soledad in her autopsy photos. So she started to make a connection here, and she's becoming even more dogged about her search. So she makes her poor surveillance guy look through even more CCTV images, and this is where she sees Soledad fleeing, and she keeps looking behind her. So Detective Ridges is like, oh, I think she was being followed. Oh, and she has something in her hand. What is that? What is that?
And then it's no longer there when she gets back.
Exactly. So when she's like, oh, I think she's being followed, why didn't she just keep watching the CCTV?
And to
Because,
see
like,
yeah.
right, to see who was following her, because the revenants were following her, and they're not invisible. You would have been able to see it if you just watched a little more. That's all I'm saying. It was weird. And then you would have proof of the supernatural world.
Maybe
But
they have some way to hide themselves. I don't know.
maybe. It's
I'm not a
also
supernatural being in this world. I don't know how things work.
same. Me either. So she sees that Soledad has been followed and she's hidden something. So she decides to go and take a closer look. And this is where she tracks down the USB that Soledad hid in episode 1. And if you remember, this USB contained some information that Soledad downloaded when she broke in to the London Talamasca headquarters back in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get to see what's on the USB, even if we don't understand it, because it's a whole bunch of encrypted data.
Yep.
And I had the thought, I wonder if this is the 752. But, like, it wouldn't make sense, because why would it have been in the Talamasca's headquarters like that, in this London branch? You know what I mean? Why would it be here? But then what else could it be? Why are we, what
I
else
do
could be on
remember
this?
in episode, Helen made a throwaway comment, or maybe it was Guy, about why couldn't this be on a USB?
Exactly. She's the one who when Guy was asking, like, how could you fit all the history of the Talamasca in a book? And she was like, it's like technology. Look at all you can fit in technology on a computer and a USB. So she herself introduced the concept, which is part of why I also had the thought, like, maybe this is a 752. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Weird. And now the police
I
have
don't
their
know
hands.
what else it could be. So we have no idea what this USB is at the end of the day.
Nope.
If it's not the 752, right, could be the 752, could be something totally different. If it's not the 752, I'll be really curious, because I mean, we're on episode 4 and there are only 6 episodes in the season. So it'd be a really weird time to introduce a whole new kind of information stream, you know what I mean,
Right.
to the story. But I don't know, especially since the Anne Rice universe is generally, not guaranteed a season 2, but much more likely than any random drama airing on Netflix. So I think they're probably safe feeling that we can set something up and explore it later. So who
I think
knows?
definitely I feel like since there's only 6 episodes and we're on 4 of 6, either the final episode is going to be a cliffhanger because I can't understand how they would fit so much into
Right.
these last 2 episodes. But
Right.
also, I feel like this show has just started to give us information.
Right. Right.
We just got there. And
Literally.
now the episode.
Right. At this
So
point,
they
we
must be
still have
setting
more questions than answers.
hmm
And honestly, they every single episode that goes, they give you more questions than they do answers. So the questions just keep piling up. And you get a couple answers here and there, but not really a lot.
Not
So
not really a lot.
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I'm a little concerned only having 2 episodes. I hope they at least wrap it up in a way that's satisfying for
Mhm.
the season. They can set up new storylines going into season 2, but like I need at least some resolution to the story that's been set up thus far.
Yeah. I feel like they'll probably save it all to the last episode and have one banger of a finale.
Yeah,
That's what I
definitely
'cause I don't
possible.
one of those where the second before the last episode is where all the good stuff happens, and then
Right.
the last episode is just like,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yep.
We'll find out.
Yes.
But I feel like we haven't gotten enough information for just having 2 episodes left. So they might just jam it all into the last one and make an explosive episode, which I would be
Right.
fine with when shows do that. Like
Yeah.
short runs like this, if they just save it all for the end for an explosive finale and it ends up really well. So that could be the case.
Right. I bet if they do something like that and they're like, here's a bunch of answers, they'll have a new question at the end. They'll be like, wait, what about this? And you're like, wait, what? And then
I
you have to
mean,
wait for season 2.
definitely they're gonna have a season 2 anyway, because if say Jasper gets his hands on the 752, he has to enact his plan. And they're not
Right.
gonna be able to do that.
Exactly. Yes. That would be a great way for season 2 to end, honestly, is with him getting the book and then starting his plan.
Mhm.
And honestly, Team Jasper. So,
Team Jasper all the way.
yes. Look, I like Guy. I don't there's nothing I dislike about Guy as a
Yeah.
main character. He's a totally average guy. Like in the best way. I don't mean that as an insult. Like to have a normal person to follow who's being shoved into a supernatural universe. I think
Mhm.
he's a really great character. I'm
Mhm.
just saying Jesper has so much motivation and passion and charisma that I'm really interested in following his story.
Yes. Give me more Jasper.
Yes,
I just feel like
exactly.
he just definitely has more charisma than Guy. Like Guy is
Yeah,
totally fine character for moving the plot forward and understanding his motivations and things like that. But the star power is with Jasper.
right. That's all. I mean, maybe we're gonna see a new side of Guy now because, like we talked about, him throwing out his meds. It seems like maybe he's gonna embrace things a little more, his powers, etc. Maybe we'll see a switch flip a little bit, and he'll
Yeah,
get
like maybe
a little more
he'll
engaging.
take his wing and
Right,
then will turn into some crazy kind of character.
right. All that be fun.
I know there's so many ways the show could go.
There really are. You know what? It's good. It's definitely not standard for what you expect from the Anne Rice universe, at least what we've seen so far. But it's really different in its own way, but very interesting in how much it's exploring of this group that's so mysterious. I
Mhm.
like it. And even though we are actively following multiple members of the Talamasca, I still feel like overall they've done a good job of not shining the light too much because basically everyone is secretive as hell. You're working with one on one with them and they're still not telling you everything. And the only thing they're
Ex-
willing to tell you is we're pieces of shit. Don't trust us. That's it.
exactly.
So next week is the penultimate episode, episode 5, and they're going to have to do, I think, a lot of groundwork in that episode to start doing their big reveals, I assume, by episode
Yeah.
6. So I'm really excited to see what they do next episode.
Me too, because like I said, there's so many ways the show could go. So I guess they're doing a good job at keeping me intrigued about what's happening. But
Definitely.
it is worrying with so little time left. how
Right.
much, but
Right.
we're looking forward to either way.
The final episode, I feel like they're either really gonna knock it out of the park or it's gonna be super, super, super underwhelming.
Yeah, that's what's worrying, but we can only wait and see. Well, that was our recap of episode 4 of Talamasca, Wet Work.
Awful name.
It is. I was gonna say that. Did that come into play in the episode at all? What is Wet Work?
Yes, it's the blood that they're,
Yeah,
like,
they're
taking
dealing
from
with.
the vampire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a nasty name, though.
Give us better names, Talamasca, but thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next time for our review of the penultimate episode of the Talamasca Secret Order.